untether yourself and set yourself free? A quest towards enlightenment? Or are you always making excuses and finding solace at the bottom of a bottle? And perhaps all the while pondering our place in the universe. There's also a song about a Dodge Viper if you got the edition with a bonus track. Dream Theater return with album number 14, Distance Over Time. I do apologise for that. There was no need for me to shout that part. I don't know why I did it, to be quite honest with you. I do hope you enjoyed the review. I do apologise. Right then. For those of you who are new, make sure you subscribe if you enjoy it. Of course, you might not, you might think it's a piece of shit. And also check out my Instagram. I've started doing rather witty little videos on the daily. How amazing. So, this is the band's 14th studio album, and it's their follow-up to 2016's The Astonishing. The 2-disc, 2 hours, 10 minute, epic, was it a concept album? I think it was a concept album. Not all Dream Theater albums are concept albums, you know. Dream Theater are, of course, known for their progressive tendencies and doing their longer songs, etc. But I think even some of their long-term fans had a bit of a mixed reception towards The Astonishing. And I think it's pretty fair to say that the band took that on board when it came to doing this album. I think it's still the best part of an hour long, but it's a fairly stripped down affair in terms of Dream Theater land. I think it's fair to say that the band made an effort to make this album a little more to the point. And I think for once I may follow their lead on this one and actually get straight into the review rather than waffling on. Without further fudge, the review. First song on the album is Untethered Angel, and this was actually the first single to be released as well. I think it was back in November, maybe December of last year, I'm not sure. Like this one immediately. I've never been a huge fan of Dream Theater, that being I've never really gone out of my way to check them out. So it was really nice to be able to actually check this album out for once and actually give the band their due. But yes, I enjoyed this single muchly. First thing before getting into the song was the production, and the production of the entire album. I love the sound of this album. Every frequency is realised, every instrument sounds exactly where it should be. Even when the Petrucci is doing a full-on metal riff, you can hear Myung's bass really cutting through the mix underneath it, along with Mangini's awesome drumming. Petrucci sets things off on the album with a clean guitar intro that morphs into this single string heavy riff. He's then joined by the rest of the band. The song then morphs into a mid-paced tempo speed. We get some nice atmospheric keyboards on top by Jordan Rudess. Before, of course, frontman James LeBray joins in, and his opening lyrics go thusly. You built this world around you, your universe. In spite of best intentions, things could not be worse. Chaos and fear left you hanging by a thread as you argue with the voice inside your head. I had a bit of that this morning, to be quite honest with you. It's been one of those days. I've obviously already mentioned the production, but it has to be said that the band sounds on top form as well. I mean, they've never been slouches. I mean, they've always been revered as virtuoso musicians, but they just sound great on this album. They really do. Everyone sounds on top form. James LeBray's vocals throughout as well, a joy to listen to. And I really enjoyed a lot of the Petrucci's riffs on this. There's some great riffs throughout this song as well. Some really heavy stuff on this album. Not that it has to be heavy to be good by any stretch. I love the prog. I love the prog. Don't judge me. There was a really cool instrumental section as well that kicked in around the 3:25 mark. Arpeggios aplenty from everyone with a damn instrument in their hand. Before a dueling solo war erupts between Petrucci and Rudess. I gotta say, Rudess's keyboard playing is pretty goddamn phenomenal. And after the chorus, we get a really cool and heavy Sabbath-style riff that sees the song out. I just want to quickly read out something that the Petrucci said about this. Fear is something that rears its ugly head at some point or another in all our lives. Fear of the unknown, fear of taking chances, fear of making mistakes. If we are not careful, it can be debilitating and sadly prevents us from realising our true potential. The world we live in can be a scary place, and the thought of an uncertain future a terrifying notion, especially for today's young people. Untethering from that fear, untethering angel, you see, and giving yourself up to the future's countless possibilities is what will ultimately set you free. That's why I did that bit in the intro, see, about being free and that. Great track to start the album, awesome start. Next up we have Paralyzed, and I've already done a video for this one, so go and check that one out if you want to do that. Do it after this video, of course, or go check that one out and then come back to that, which would probably give me a better view count actually, though it would screw up the watch times. Watch this, then watch that. Next up we have Fall Into the Light, and this was the second single to be released. So the first song of this album was really cool metal riff starts this one out, and I particularly enjoyed the way that John Myung's bass really cut through the mix and allowed itself to shine through the riff. God, that went on. And I might as well take this opportunity as well to point out just how great the drums sound throughout this album as well, played by Mike Mangini, of course. Him and Myung make quite a formidable rhythm section, it has to be said. Sounds great. As we get further into the song, the riff morphs into this early Metallica style thrash riff that really works well. It's really great. I really enjoyed this song a lot. There's another great prog interlude section, another ripping solo from the Petrucci. We also get another crazy keyboard solo from Jord. Bassist John Myung said this about this one: Fall Into the Light is about the quest towards enlightenment that exists in life. It is more about the underlying themes of life's journey and less about what happens once you get there. It is a song of introspection about looking inside to find your individual happiness. And this is reflected in the chorus. Too much love is not enough for us. I was once too blind to see. Too much hope will never be enough. It's become so clear to me. Don't know why I did that. There was a lot to enjoy in this song. Great. If you'd be any more mediocre, Ben, Jesus. Next up we have Barstool Warrior. More great riffs and progressive stylings, and according to a recent interview with Rolling Stone magazine, the Petrucci said that this was a real hats off to a lot of the sort of 70s prog bands, English prog bands. A real tip of the hat, if you will. You can definitely feel that throughout the entirety of this song. There's definitely that hints of Genesis, yes, and other ones that I can't think of right now. Lyrically speaking, and I'm speaking lyrically now, lyrics that is, being about the lyrics of this song, we join an alcoholic in a bar who has basically never really taken ownership of his life, or never really taken responsibility for his problems. He's always blamed other things, and as a result of that, he's stayed exactly in the same place for the entirety of his life, and he's kind of realised that he's wasted his life. I think a lot of us can relate to that. In the dark and lonely corner of the time and dark side in sits a local Barstool Warrior, talking to his gin, reaching past decisions, emotions for a shot. Is he doomed to be a man as well forget? It sounded just like that. That's how good I am. There's also a female character at the bar who's been in an abusive relationship for many years and is essentially in the same predicament, just stuck in life with nowhere to go. I don't want to spoil the ending for you guys, but I highly recommend checking out the song, and who knows, maybe there's a positive spin towards the end of it. Well, wasn't that subtle? Next up we have Room 137. Is it 137? Yes, it is 137. A huge heavy riff kicks this one off. Really enjoyed the riff on this one. There's a real nice thickness and groove to this song. I gotta say, this is not the sort of thing that I would have expected from Dream Theater. I'm definitely gonna have to go and check out some of their earlier stuff. If any of you watching have got any recommendations for some of their heavier material, don't judge me, I'm not all about heavy, I can listen to other stuff, then please leave a comment. There's a really cool bridge section in this as well that had a real psychedelic kind of Pink Floyd, Beatles vibe to it. Now, I don't know what this Room 137 is, but it doesn't sound good. Do you see it? There on the door. Death is coming like nevermore. Obsession traps me, clouding my mind. What's the message? Am I running out of time? That's the problem with Airbnb, you just never know what you're gonna get. Next up we have S2N. Now, be honest, did you think that stood for Satan? No, it's an abbreviation for signal to noise. But you googled that, didn't you? Why'd you always have to make me look like a fucking idiot? Not hard. John Myung gets a chance to shine. You always shine, Myung. With the bass introducing us into this tune. This is a really fun one, I enjoyed this one a lot. It has plenty of heavy riffing, some real cool prog sections. Myung and Mangini sound awesome underneath the riffage as well. It really stands out, really nice and clear. Petrucci is great as always, and James sounds on top form. Great song. Signal to noise becomes the answer. The world keeps turning as we latch onto the wheel. I really enjoyed the outro riff and solo as well on this one. Absolutely awesome track, loved it. Next up we have At Wits End. This one starts out with a really crazy guitar and keyboard arpeggio section. Really crazed, psyched out, frenetic sounding, crazy kind of tune, and it makes perfect sense when you learn of the subject matter of the song. This one was written by James LeBray, the lyrics at least, and this one goes into much darker territory. The song is about the after effects of rape. In the song, I think it's the husband doing his best to console his wife, the victim, assuring her that he'll always love her despite what has happened and that she can't be defined by this horrific incident. Let me help you. How much longer till you realise? You're getting worse and it's killing you inside. I can't break through. Do you have to fix this on your own? Want to be left alone? At 9 minutes 20, this is the longest song on the album, and it goes through a multitude of changes. Many of the instrumental passages give this real feeling of being lost and just not knowing where you are, which makes perfect sense. And there's also a really, really effective interlude section. I highly recommend you check this one out yourself. A very powerful and masterfully done song. Very, very good. Next up we have Out of Reach, and this is another one that has lyrics written by LeBray. This is essentially a ballad. This one is written from the perspective of a man in a coffee shop, I think it is, who's besotted with this beautiful woman he's never met before. She looks as though she has everything, but over days, weeks, months, whatever of observation, he kind of realizes that there's a deep sadness in her. I guess despite appearances, things aren't going so well for her. Out of reach, just too hard to reach. You're letting your love slip away. Out of reach, yeah, it's hard to reach. There's another day. Although you're hurting and afraid, you're stronger than yesterday. Pretty much a piano-led power ballad, this one. It had the potential to be a really cheesy, saccharine, yucky kind of affair, but it actually works quite effectively. It's probably my least favourite song on the album, but considering how it could have turned out, I was actually quite taken with this one in other ways as well. There's a darkness to it as well that steers it away from that cheesy power ballad sort of territory. Not a bad tune. Then we have the final song of the album, or at least the proper album, which is Pale Blue Dot. And this one starts out with what sounds like stock footage of a space mission for a track that's truly out of this world. Ugh. The music itself is riff heavy, with a very strong prog keyboard on top, courtesy of Rudess, of course. I have to say that there's actually a tinge of Darth Vader's theme, you know, the Imperial March in there as well at points. This one really packs a punch, and at 8 minutes 30 it actually flies by. There's a lot that goes on in this song, and I thought it was like a 5-minute track, to be honest with you. Just a really, really enjoyable one. The song itself is actually based on a piece of writing done by Carl Sagan. This was taken from his book, was it Pale Blue Dot, A Vision of the Human Future in Space. Carl Sagan was inspired to write that piece after a photograph that was beamed back from the Voyager 1 space probe in 1990, I think it was. Yes, 1990. At a distance of 4 billion miles away, just as the probe was leaving our neighbourhood, now our galactic neighbourhood, I guess, and leaving for the outer solar system, it did one final turn and took 60 images of the Earth, as I said, from a distance of 4 billion miles away. And in the pictures you can see the Earth as a pale blue dot. You can barely see it. I guess what the band is trying to reflect in this song is what our place in the universe is. In fact, there are some lyrics: God creators, dream destroyers, spineless cowards and fearless warriors, that were actually inspired directly from his writing. We've got Sagan noted that every hero and coward inhabited Earth, making the point that all of human history is but the tiniest mote on the scope of the universe. Deep shit, that. I'll just read out a couple more lyrics from the song on this one as well. So far away from home, beyond a distant reach, face whispers from the edge, returning piece by piece. A lonely point of light, captured in a final glance. A solitary hint of life, discovered it by chance. This is another one that I highly recommend you check out, regardless of whether you get the album or not. Pretty much the standout song for me. Absolutely love this one. As I said, 8 minutes 30 in length. And it goes through so many peaks and troughs on the way through. It really takes you on a journey, and I thoroughly enjoyed this song. Really, really great song. And just before I give you my overall score of the album, it's worth pointing out that I've actually got the edition with a bonus track on it. I think it's pretty much what you get on most of them. I don't know. But the bonus track is called Viper King, And this has got a bit of a Van Halen-esque vibe to it, a bit more of a fun one. And I think this was another one that was written by LeBray. And this is pretty much about driving around in a Dodge Viper. About the thrill of driving down the road and letting your spirit free and enjoying the ride in a Dodge Viper. In terms of a score, I would give this a 9 out of 10. Really, really enjoyed it. There was only the one sort of power ballad-esque type one that I was a little less taken with. It wasn't a bad song by any stretch, but I don't know, it kind of didn't hold my interest as much as the other songs. A real classic sounding album. I got a feeling this one will be mentioned quite a lot in the future as well. I think it's got a lot of staying power. I don't have to justify it any more than that. It's 9 out of 10. If you made it this far and you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. For those long-time viewers, make sure you check out my Instagram account, because like I said, I've been doing little witty videos supposedly, which you can find in the stories section at the top of the profile. So it's been a long one, so I think I'm going to head off now and boo!